And a lot of people were nervous, break it up, get on the schedule. I said, well, no, don't break it up. This is what it's for. So they came out of the meeting, well, okay, I don't know, you said how you were praised, but then we had a plenary session, and in the afternoon, during a break, all of a sudden, President Gorbachev and President Reagan took a walk. They went down to some cabin on Lake Geneva where there was a fire and a fireplace, and you sat down there. I wasn't there, but I know when you came back, there were two friends almost talking about what was going to happen. Then we went to the next day.
От этого камина
From that fireside house,
Yes.
President Reagan suddenly said to me,
как бы вы поступили, если
"Oh,
бы
what would you do
на Соединенные
if
Штаты
the United States
агрессивно
were
действовали с
attacked
космоса?
by someone from outer space?
Вы пришли бы нам на помощь?
Would you help us?"
И без всяких
I
колебаний.
said, "No doubt about it."
Мы тоже.
He said, "We too." So that's interesting.
Я извиняюсь, что я перебил, но это...
I'm sorry for having interrupted you, but it was an interesting
It
moment.
was. But I'm so happy you did. So,
Wait a
yes.
minute. So then the next morning, first day went well, then you gave a dinner for us. And there were about, I don't know, 10 or 12 people there.
All right, let's see here. Talked about it. Not sure. Except a little bits and pieces that you'll find throughout the tapes and things. Since I got this on the screen here. And this is what I wanted to have here. Reagan's speeches captured on video, an article, and Gorbachev's confirmation of Reagan's bringing up the alien threat from outside this world while at Lake Geneva, Switzerland summit, when Gorbachev and Reagan took a break and went to a cabin on the lake to talk between themselves. I played that video. I think it's really interesting to watch it, especially Charlie Rose, who was the host. Watch his response when Gorbachev said that. Reagan told him that there was a threat from aliens from outer space on the planet. And he posed it as a question of, would we join together to fight that enemy, that common enemy? And so now you have the Richard Blumenthal saying last April that there was a threat from outer space that he wished the American people could know about. And he was hoping that there'd be, he was making sure that there'd be a provision in the design of the Space Force personnel that would write into their contract that they had the right to become a whistleblower. I had that video as well. And I played it before, and so you can go back in my other live streams if you want to see that, if you can't find it anywhere, because it's still around. It's on a C-SPAN 3, but they're calling it Secretary Richard Blumenthal, and he was never. I can't find any evidence that he was a secretary. He was a senator. He is a senator currently from Connecticut, Democrat. I'm not sure what committee that was. If anybody finds out that information, I'd like to know about it. It was a committee, and Warren was in the room, Elizabeth Warren. And also were some, an admiral or a general or somebody. And I think somebody representing the intelligence community was probably there. A full panel of senators were questioning them about, or actually were appealing to the military, or I'm not sure to who they were appealing to. It was actually learning about the Space Force, I think, from the senator's point of view, and wanting to make sure that there were certain things in the official written into the official description of the force legally. I already talked about that, but I just came full circle again, I guess. So I was going to play this other Reagan video. What time is it? Hour 59. Maybe I'll do that. I played the Gorbachev one earlier, and you all have probably seen these videos, but I want them to be in one place, kind of. And so I guess I'll just do it. It's a short one. So let me see if I can do it this time instead of getting distracted. Stray display capture. Okay. Turn off my mic.
Discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev. I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? I think maybe I'd answer it this way. I keep, in my frustration sometimes, actually, if you count some of the things going on in smaller countries and all, there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
Your unfiltered view of government, created by cable in 1979.
For your service. You know, I've been in and out as I've attended other committee hearings, and I sort of feel like the most important facts for us and the American people to understand are the facts that haven't been said today. And the reason why they haven't been said is that they are largely classified. And the reason that's important is that the American people have no idea, really no idea, about the immensity of the threat in space. And I've made this comment in a classified setting, that I wish the American people could be present in this room, not this room, but the SCIF, because our adversaries know what they are doing. We know what they are doing. They know we know what they are doing, but the American people have no idea. And so this discussion and debate will have very little interest in the American public. It's carried on in a level of, forgive me, bureaucratic language that most Americans would have trouble seeing an immediacy in their daily lives. But if they were privy to what we hear, and you know it much better than we do because you live it, I think they'd be pretty alarmed. This is not by way of criticism of you, because you're living with the strictures of what is classified and not, but I think we have a real obligation to explain to the American people why space is a domain that matters, why the threats there are real and urgent, why they are growing in importance. So I think we all agree here that space is an important domain. Undersea warfare is an important domain, but we don't have a separate command for it. Cyber is an important domain, as my colleague and friend, the late John McCain, used to say. And so I found very persuasive, Secretary Wilson, what you said in July of 2017. I know it's been quoted to you before this morning, and others of you, the reasons for your opposition to that separate domain or the separate command for the space domain. But I would like to ask, in terms of the personnel issues that I think are of immediate concern to a lot of folks, this proposal would exempt Space Force civilian personnel from Title V rules and protections. It would create a new accepted service that is separate from the federal government competitive service or a senior executive service. It would create an alarming precedent, I think, that potentially could erode the merit-based civil service within the Pentagon and eliminate the rights of Space Force employees to participate in collective bargaining, for example. There's currently no civilian workforce that is statutorily exempt from collective bargaining rights. Can you tell me, Secretary Shanahan, why that is a part of your proposal?
The Title V that you were referencing was based on the discussion we were having earlier around integration with the NRO. That's the model that they employ there. And as we think about the talent management practices that we'll need in the future, we wanted a provision for that. Much like in your reference to the undersea domain, our approach to systems engineering is the same as the Navy's undertaken. So there are a lot of examples that we're trying to draw from that have been successful. That was the nature of that insertion.
Would there be protection for whistleblowers in the same way there is throughout the rest of the government?
The baseline that we're coming off of is the existing personnel system. This was to incorporate, the ability to integrate with the NRO. So I would, I'd have to go back, sir. I'd have to go back and confirm that for you. But
if you would, that would be appreciated.
You bet.
Because based on this proposal, the Secretary of Defense could terminate any Space Force employee, quote, in the interests of the United States, end quote, and as drafted it says, notwithstanding any other law, which leads me to think that they would be exempted from a lot of other protections of law and could simply be dismissed whenever you determine it's in the interests of the United States.
Yeah, let me go back and confirm that that's not our interpretation.
My time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I think there are essentially, and I have a lot more, and I'm going to submit them for the record, a lot more questions than answers here. And as others have remarked, each of you has raised objections or reservations or questions in the past, the very recent past, about this idea, which I'm not sure have been fully addressed here. Thank you. I'm not sure have been fully addressed here. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Chairman Inhofe, Senator Warren, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're here today to examine.
And let me stick a little video capture in there. There we go. Okay, so you probably got that by now. Looks like you did. So this is showing the comparison of the Starfleet Command insignia and the one that's for the Space Force, the patch that members of the Space Force might have on them or is going to be on something. And what is MMX1IX in Roman numerals? Let me see. Numerals MMXIX. (2011) MMXI equals 2011. So MMXIX. Oh, it's 2019. Okay. MMXIX is 2019. All right. That was significant to my mind because just seeing the Roman numerals there and comparing them with Star Trek is like, relating it to Doe. They're saying the Space Force is going to be like Star Trek, going out to get rid of aliens, to conquer aliens, okay? Which is the only individuals they're going to run into far out is going to be next level members, and there's no contest between next level and the humans. or the space aliens. So, so we're seeing the parallels here between the way that Doe said that the next level was very much like a Star Trek crew without the human behavior. So no sexuality, no propagation of the species, no families like, and with little kids running around, and no no gender difference, no genders, no jealousies and relationships, and no sexuality, no not much eating, no need for eating. That's what humans do. That's a mammalian behavior. And though compared to the holodeck, he compared that to being the human kingdom, to where it was a physical holodeck. In other words, and T said that we were copies, humans were copies, because we were made from Adam and Eve in this current civilization. But I mean, I'm not saying that all the strains came from Adam and Eve, because there were other humans that Doe talked about. I mean, not talked about, but he recognized when we started listening to this preacher, Dr. Murray, I think was his name, Arnold Murray, and he broadcast, I think, out of Missouri or Arkansas, and he wrote a book, or he talked about a Bible version, I think it was called Dakes, D-A-K-E-S, that had a lot of footnotes on a lot of the verses, and showed the origin of a lot of words, and was able to then talk about, using that version, how in Genesis chapter 2 it talks about the Lord creating the humans, or not humans, but creating male and female creatures that were man. He called them man, but that meant blood in the face. They were going to be they're going to be flesh and blood creatures, and that were humanoid shaped because they were tailored off of next level members, the way next level members are humanoid looking. It's not the other way around. The next level members aren't like humans. We are like next level members in our shape. Anyway, in our vehicle shape. And so then the fact that the Roman numerals relate to so I'm going to make this smaller. I didn't mean to do that, to put that up there. But yes, I did. Okay, well, Game Bar, Xbox Game Bar. I can just do that, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit more on this. I did want this to be there. I was talking about before, and this is the documentation for all those different things that Reagan did, for anybody that just joined me, talking about the space alien threat. All right. So I actually didn't want to do that, but I did want to do that, but didn't at the same. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about 666 because of its relationship to the Roman numeral system. And this is when I was doing the research for the book. This is the best perspective that I felt like I could have on 666. I'm saying I know it can be seen in a lot of different ways. I'm not saying any of those ways are invalid. Doesn't really matter to me if they are or not. But to me, personally, the clearest way of thinking about it is described here. I'm going to read it. How 666 can be interpreted both symbolically as the Roman numeral number system and referring to a Latin human who used that system or its symbols in their symbolism. The best interpretation of this number, 666, seems to me to be the one that suggests they are representative of the Roman numeral system in its base letter representations, where D equals 500, C equals 100, L equals 50, X equals 10, V equals 5, and I equals 1. So there you go. 500, 100 is 6 hundredths, and then 50 and 10 is 60, and then I equals V equals 5, and then I equals 1, and those equal 6. So each combination of 2 in 3 combinations there define the Roman numeral system. But it's not adding in the thousands. But I don't know. This was enough for me to feel that this was kind of, and the fact that this is on the $1 bill and maybe some other places, so. And if you look at a lot of the buildings, in Washington, D.C., they look like a lot of the, things in Italy and Rome, where Rome was, centered, and in their white nature, and their all that stuff. So that's the other way of looking at Lucifer's kingdom, is that he's the one who brings light, and thought of as a bright white light, according to Paul of Tarsus, and yet he's the fallen white light, and so he's Jesus and Lucifer are both depicted as lions. But one is the lion of the human kingdom in the mammalian form, and the other lion is the one that conquers the human kingdom entirely, and it has to do with his roar, being a thunder, the 7 thunders, and the 7 thunders were Tiando with the statements that he wrote was the first thunder. And the second thunder was, I believe, the Beyond Human series. Oh, the first thunder was in 2 parts and ended with the 88 update. That was the end of the 2 witnesses part, Revelation 11, and 12, and other places. But we'll depict it in Revelation 14 as well. But anyway, and then the third thunder, this is all in Revelation 10, talks about the thunders, is, I believe, the Beyond Human series. I said that already, maybe. No. Well, no, I'm saying the second one was the Beyond Human series. The third one, I believe, was the USA Today ad, information ad that was put in a third of the page of the USA Today, big newspaper. So a lot of words in that ad that went international and national on May 27th, 1993 edition. And then the fourth one went international with many different newspapers that was taken from the USA Today ad, information ad, and made into different sizes for different periodicals that were published in places in all over the United States and Canada and England and Scotland and Australia and New Zealand, I think, were the areas that were all published. And then the fifth one was when we went out in person to speak to people face to face, for starting on January 1st, 1994, and doing that for about 9 months. And then that's when Doe said it was time to consider that we might have to lay down our lives by taking it into our own hands. Because obviously that was the last straw, because he surfaced as being the return of Jesus in a new vehicle, like was planned. Son of Man, as Jesus said, was coming back with his kingdom. He wasn't coming back alone. And the Father was coming back to make his residence with us in John chapter 14. And there was going to be a woman and a man, according to Revelation chapter 12. And he was going to be birthed to the throne so that he would carry out the remainder of the task after she left her vehicle, after T left her vehicle, also in Revelation 12. And that she would fly into the wilderness in the Black Hawk, living in the wilderness as an eagle flies to the wilderness, the wings of an eagle, which the eagles occupy the highest places in the world. And that was 9,000 feet in Black Hawk, Colorado, where they had a craft where we went to and where they got a lot of new information. And that was the beginning of the end of T's being with us. Even though it was 2 years after that her vehicle died. From seemingly natural causes, but Doe said was because her vehicle was worn out by the negativity on the planet. All the people that hated T and Doe. Which the big time was the Luciferian space alien fallen angel souls. And because that's the other thing that they intend to do, is keep souls away from becoming members of the next level, because they want those souls to become their diplomats and vehicles to use to interface with the remainder of the human kingdom for as long as they live. And then through the DNA hybridization program, then they make their vehicles, they need that DNA. Next level doesn't need new members. Next level can manufacture all the human vehicles they want, just like they do on Earth, by the billions, by just putting it into motion and watching it grow. That's how you tell the difference between them. All the ones that are promoting saving the Earth that's not the next level, promoting saving the Earth. They don't want to save this current Earth because the civilization has become rotten, because the weeds have taken it over. And it's completely destroying it, except for the remnant of souls that are still looking for vehicles that can recognize the reality of Doe as their older members. from the kingdom that created the earth and all its life forms, and the task is to stand up for them. And that by standing up for them, and to whatever degree we separate from our humanness, demonstrates to the next level how fast we want to grow. And they'll help us grow as fast as we want to grow. And we need to talk to them about that. Ask them about how to do that if that's what we want. And if we can't stand up for T&O if we don't know what they taught. So whatever time people take to learn what they taught is all positive. But listening to audio tapes, so you can when they say that they were brainwashing everybody, refer to different tapes where you can see that they were talking about and I'm providing some things too, in showing all the ways that they were filtering people out of the group that weren't keeping up, and that the brainwashing was necessary, but the members of the next level had to do it. The students had to do it. They had to brainwash their vehicle, wash out the humanness of it. It literally means that, because the water represents the human kingdom in the record books, and so washing the vehicle, and water also represents the next level mind. It's actually the mind of the human kingdom is the water. And so you're washing out the old mind and you're filling your soul container with new mind from the next level. Their instructions, their behaviors and ways, their thinking, their concepts, their peacefulness towards one another. They're not believing in making weapons to kill other humans with. Not against making guns. They're not against that. They're against making guns to kill humans with, and then using them on humans. That's what they're against. Because that's like the survivalist mentality of animals, that we've got to kill or be killed. And humans don't have to survive by that. And even if somebody is killed, becomes the victim, the next level knows what's in their heart, and so can sort them, that spirit, to the appropriate bucket to be saved for a future opportunity, or to be used in a certain way at a future time, or to be saved for development to become a member of the next level, or to influence a vehicle's growth to become a match, to become a vehicle that would be a match for a returning soul that was trying to overcome the human kingdom to become a member of the level above human. So I'm not going to go through the others. I'll scroll through it, though. I won't go through the other talk about, the 666 thing, because not that. But I think the idea that, Rome has been duplicated in the United States is, with all those columns and everything, that came from Roman architecture. And the fact that you got the Ceres lights, that is the statue of Ceres, is actually the goddess of harvest, and is on the capital of Montpellier, which is influenced by the French mountain, something like Vermont is Green Mountain, and Trump is the green horse of Revelation 6, where it talks about mistranslates it to pale horse. It's not pale horse, it's green horse. Chloros in the Greek is a word for a primary color of green. But that was like a distortion of the book of Revelations. They've been one of the things that Doe was talking about, to where you can't count on everything in the book of Revelation. Also, their use of the word beast. They use it as being a poisonous mammal, and they use it as being a living being. Living being being depicted as the four living beings that were like the four archangels, I believe, or the students that were going to be graduating to become an archangel, which is the captain of angels. And if you want to go into captain, then you got to talk about the Mark Twain and the $5.75 to ride the tail of the comet to heaven, and Mark Twain and the captain's quarters on the top of the Mississippi riverboat is called a Texas, spelled Tejas, and that's what Mark Twain was the driver of, the pilot of, and that it has to do with the measuring of the Holy City. The Holy City was the whole western United States, but primarily the southwestern part would be the temple area. That's where the 42 would be circulating, which the word 42 comes from, they said they put it in terms of months, but if you look at the word men in the Greek, it means both months and also means oath takers, people that are taking an oath. And so it's the seal is also means that they are sealed for being becoming member graduates. So the 7 seals was the process of sealing people for their future in next level membership. It also meant the lifting of the seal of what was in the book, the revealing of what's in the book. The whole revelation is the revealing. That's talked about in Luke as well. I think Luke chapter 25 talks about that after Jesus is revealed. Now this is after Jesus was gone. So Jesus was revealed in 1990s, specifically in 1994 in the public, which was the second stage of the classroom that was begun, that is continuing right now. As long as we can talk about this, it's continuing. And then, probably continue for a while after that, after we can't talk about it. I'm talking about after even like the internet's too expensive or too hard to get conversations like this. I think I'm going to take a break and let me scroll this down a little bit more. For anybody that wants to read it, I'm not going to read it all. I just want it to be available. The reason I brought that up was because of that, those insignias. Of 666. I'm not 666, but the Roman numeral system. That brought me into the 666 talk. But, the mark is the people that are giving their allegiance, they're believing in the government and its institutions is going to solve their problems, whether it's through pharmaceuticals or surgeries, and not that they won't solve those kind of problems. They will, but they're also killing people with all those, with everything, because there's bad problems with everything. It's just a matter of whether it catches up with you or not, and before other organ systems fail. But and of course they can keep you alive for a long time, but now people are in droves are losing their minds. Now it's considered normal to have homes where people have no memories anymore of anything, and they can't grow anymore. They can't even choose to be euthanized, because they would say no. As long as they're comfortable, they probably wouldn't want to. But they end up becoming vegetables. Well, my vehicle's mother went through that. Several years of it. And anyway, but I think it got escalated by all the major operations she had, but some of those operations, if she didn't have them, would have killed her. So, I'm glad she lived. I don't think of people as, not being worth anything, because she might have grown a lot in the last year before she got Alzheimer's, and even after that, a little bit, maybe. Who knows? I mean, if she grew to see me as maybe having something to say that was of value, which I don't know if she ever did. To me, that's a lot of growth, because I know that I've got things to say that are of value because I got them from T&O. That's what I know. Everything else about me isn't necessarily worth anything. I mean, except by the judgment of T&O, because we can't judge ourselves. But we can judge what we want to do and not do. And so we can judge ourselves in that regard of what we decide to become. And judgment in that score doesn't mean it's a measurement. But it's not the same kind of. I'm not talking about the same kind of measurement as whether you're a soul that's going to be saved or a spirit that's going to be saved or not. I don't think of it that way. The way we judge ourselves. I'm just saying that as judge as a decider, because that's what T&O said we were. All we are is the decider of what thoughts and behaviors and ways and attitudes and things we do are going to have. That's what we are. Because everything else are the influences that give us ideas that we choose to accept or not. And those influences help us in the human kingdom as well. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat room because I see that. Let me lower this a little bit more. Then go back to the chat room and see that dial nerd is dialed in here. I don't know if you're still here, but hey, buddy, how's it going? It's going good. Yeah, you're. We go back a long ways. The dial nerd says, been in the USA now for over a year. It's a mess. Kind of scary also. I wonder how it is back in Northern Ireland, right? You still follow through with all that, the things that you were doing there with politics and everything? And then Booster says, not sure about, or Diner is saying to Booster, not sure about that reincarnation question. Sawyer may have more information on that. I don't know if you asked anything else about it. But there wasn't going back to animals in T&O's way of describing it. Diner then says, saying, is answering that question, I guess, and saying, but what I understand in the classroom, there were individuals that were there a long time. And some that were there a short time, but the qualification was not based on time, but the acceptance, but evolution of the classmate. Right. That's right. It was time wasn't necessarily linked up with experience. Well, experience has to do with time. So, but people can grow at their own rate, and the next level doesn't hold you back. So, how well you stay to the program, it determines how much you're going to actually grow. And that's in thought and deed. So, right. I already said some stuff about the reincarnation from my perspective of what T and Do said. So, okay. Caraboga. Mr. Smiley Face says Caraboga. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm saying some terrible thing. I hope not. Well, folks, I think I'm going to wind it up. Well, let me finish with that other screen that I just created, calling Star Trek 1, showing that combination of Star Trek and United Space Force.